Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
A 15-year-old hauled before the courts for 3 highly publicized sexual assaults. That story coming up.
The National Security Minister responds to outcry over that police-involved shooting on Sunday.
Plus, a man murdered on Montgomery Avenue. And what's inside the Minnis administration's 2018-2019 budget communication.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, weeks after police reports of sexual assault against underage girls sparked fear and outrage in the Englerston community, a 15-year-old boy appeared in the magistrate's court today where he was charged with 3 separate counts of unlawful sexual intercourse. Jared Higgs was in court and has the details.
This juvenile male wearing the red shirt was charged with 3 counts of unlawful sexual intercourse in the magistrate's court. The charges stem from 3 incidents involving girls under the age of 11. In the first count, the teenager is accused of having unlawful sexual intercourse with a 6-year-old girl on April 28th. According to police, that incident took place on Bahama Avenue near Blue Hill Road. The second and third charges allege that the 15-year-old had unlawful sexual intercourse with 2 girls, both aged 11, on May 14th and May 25th, respectively. Those incidents are alleged to have taken place on Darling Street and on a track road near Big Pond. Now, the media were not actually allowed in the court with the 15-year-old. If he was charged as an adult, he would have been taken to an adult court and we would have been allowed inside. Instead, since he was being charged on his own, he was taken to a juvenile court. That was actually court number 2, where the charges were read. According to the police prosecutor handling the matter, the teenager's brother and grandmother were present during his arraignment. The matter was adjourned to August 28th, and the 15-year-old was remanded to the Simpson Penn Center for Boys. He was represented by attorney Nathan Smith. Reporting for our news, I'm Jared Higgs.
A man was found dead inside a bullet-riddled vehicle parked outside a home on Montgomery Avenue off Carmichael Road this afternoon. Police say he'd been shot in the head. The victim's distraught family members, including a young boy, cried out at the sight of the silver Honda Accord, which had bullet holes in both sides and a shattered passenger window. Head of the Central Detective Unit, Chief Superintendent Solomon Cash, says police suspect the man had been dead for several hours. However, authorities weren't alerted until 3 this afternoon.
Police received reports of a male who was lying unresponsive in a vehicle here at this location. The officers, once they arrived on the scene, they discovered the lifeless body of a male who was lying on his back inside a Honda-type vehicle at this location. The officers, on examining the body, discovered that there was an apparent gunshot wound to the head area.
Police have no motive at this point. The CDU chief made a familiar plea to the public to come forward with information on the country's 38th murder for the year.
We suspect that this incident may have occurred during the VV hours of the morning when we look at the condition of the body. It's too early to say whether we know anything about the victim, but I can say that it's a black male, appeared to be in his early 30s, late 20s.
The police officers who shot and killed a 20-year-old Masons Addition man on McCullough Corner Sunday morning will have their day of accounting, according to National Security Minister Marvin Dames, who says if those officers did something outside their scope of responsibility, they will have to answer to the coroner's court. Jillian Gray reports.
Amid public outcry from members of the Masons Addition community over the shooting death of 20-year-old D'Angelo Evans, National Security Minister Marvin Dames admitted today that there is a need for restructuring of the Royal Bahamas Police Force and training of officers. He noted that the force does not have a perfect system.
I am not speaking to the incident that would have occurred a few days ago. That is currently under investigations. The officer or officers involved in that will have their day of accounting. And if they did something outside of their scope of responsibility, then they will have to account before the coroner's court on that particular matter, right? If they acted in good faith, right, in the execution of their duty, then they will be vindicated.
Police were in the McCullough Corner area on Sunday responding to reports of an armed robbery. They claimed they shot Evans after he pointed a gun in their direction and that a .40 pistol was recovered on the scene. However, outraged family members and residents say officers shot the wrong man and insisted Evans went to the store for his grand aunt. The family is now demanding justice.
Are there things that we need to do better? Absolutely. All right? There are absolutely things that we need to do to improve. No one likes the fact when someone loses their lives, no matter who it is. You know, a life is a precious gift. And we have to always be cognizant of that. All right? And so every time an officer pulls a trigger, he or she has to account for their actions. And there will be no cover-ups.
Now, in response to the calls from the Centreville MP that an investigation be done into the police-involved shooting from Sunday, the National Security Minister said an investigation is already before the coroner's court.
If you're looking for me to go on the attack with the MP, that's not what I'm going to do. What I'm saying, however, is that we currently have a process in place. We don't want to see police officers taking laws into their own hands. We never want to see that. And wherever that happens, there are consequences. On the other side, we don't want to take officers and crucify them before there's an opportunity, right, for the law to run its course.
To ensure more transparency and accountability on the force, the National Security Minister noted that police body cams would be fully initiated within the next fiscal period. Reporting for our news, I'm Jillian Gray.
Well, one day after a Haitian sloop made an illegal landing near the Defense Force Coral Harbor base, another sloop sailed into Bahamian waters yesterday with approximately 80 illegal Haitian migrants on board. Acting on information, Defense Force patrol craft P-44 intercepted the 40-foot Haitian sloop 6 nautical miles west of Beacon Key near the top of the Exuma chain of islands shortly after 6 p.m. Monday. Patrol craft P-129 assisted with transporting the migrants to New Providence, where they were turned over to immigration officials for further processing. In other news, on Wednesday, the Minnis administration will lay out its financial roadmap for the next fiscal year. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Peter Turnquest is expected to deliver the budget communication. But what can Bahamians expect? Joining me in studio is Kyle Joaquin. Kyle?
Well, Christina, steep budget cuts and hefty borrowing mark the government's first year in office. This as the government prepares to lay out its fiscal roadmap for 2018-2019. And it also comes just 1 year after the finance minister's scathing assessment of the Christie administration.
Our predecessors have literally left us with the cupboard totally bare.
That comment would place the Bahamas on review for downgrade by international credit ratings agency Moody's. But as we await to hear exactly what's in the Minnis administration's plans for the next fiscal year, here's what we can expect. A huge portion of the budget dedicated to infrastructural developments as promised by the Minister of Public Works, funding for the Over the Hill project, and the elimination of VAT on breadbasket items. But let's not forget, while on the campaign trail, the Free National Movement promised the elimination of VAT on other items like healthcare, insurance, and baby items. It was something we put to the Prime Minister's press secretary today.
The Minister of Finance will have all of those details tomorrow. And as I said, he will have a press conference at 2 o'clock tomorrow. And we'll be making the rounds as well to all of the radio stations, laying out in much detail, more than I could ever have.
The opposition leader has called for Bahamians to brace for the possibility of a new tax or an increase in taxes. Finance Minister Peter Turnquest has been mum on this. But we'll have to see if government heeded recommendations by the International Monetary Fund, which said a more progressive tax system will be needed to offset reduced government revenue when the Bahamas joins the World Trade Organization late next year. Cabinet met on Monday and Tuesday to put final touches on the budget. The press secretary refrained from giving much detail at all about what we can expect, but he did say this.
Whatever decisions are announced, there will be some people who will not like them. That's a part of governing, and the Prime Minister understands that very well.
Be sure to join us tomorrow night for team coverage. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Kyle. Well, press secretary in the office of the Prime Minister, Anthony Newbold, today suggesting the appointment of a cabinet subcommittee and technical advisory group to review the controversial Oban Energy's deal for East Grand Bahama made it unnecessary for Parliament to appoint a select committee. 25 government MPs present last week voted against the appointment of that select committee, which would have investigated all matters related to the project.
The government obviously felt that way, that we have a committee, this monitoring what's going on. We will report what is happening with Oban when there's something to report.
Anglerston MP Glenys Hannah Martin has said there are too many unanswered questions surrounding the deal, while Education Minister Jeff Lloyd has admitted government didn't follow the law as it relates to the project. Now, as for the status of the long-awaited environmental impact assessment,
that subcommittee, there's some fundamental things that subcommittee is monitoring and they're going over. Once the subcommittee is comfortable with where they are, all of those documents, and I said this a couple of months ago, all of those documents will be released. They have to be released.
Still to come on our news, the General Post Office could be relocated to Gladstone Road by Christmas. Plus, is NIB planning to raise its contribution rates? That's coming up when our news returns.